The forest on Corv-9 was quiet, too quiet for a battlefield. Thick purple vines wrapped around the silver trunks of tall trees, and the ground was soft with moss every few minutes. A loud boom echoed in the distance. The Arkan scouts moved. Carefully, their steps silent, their large eyes scanning every bush. Tali was one of them, young, slender, and fast. Her pale green skin was scratched from thorns, but she moved with confidence. The Arkan were a peaceful race, not made for war. But after humans arrived on Corv-9, old tensions had returned. The moon held rare minerals, and now the species fought over it. Tali's small squad had been sent to scout ahead, but she had a strange feeling. The ground was wrong. Her ears twitched at a faint clicking sound. She lifted a hand to warn the others, and then the world exploded. A blast of fire and dirt threw her backward. A searing pain shot through her leg, or what was left of it. The mine had torn it off at the knee. Blood soaked the moss. Her scream echoed through the forest as smoke filled her lungs. Her squad panicked. One Arkan ran. Another called out, but didn't come closer. A third simply froze. None of them moved to help. Tali gasped, trying to stay awake. Her heart pounded. The pain was unbearable. She reached out, but her hand fell onto damp soil. And then footsteps, not soft, careful ones like her people, heavy boots, loud, human. Tali blinked through the smoke. A figure appeared, tall and broad, wearing armor scratched with dirt. A human soldier, alone. She froze in fear. Was he here to finish her? But the man dropped to one knee and raised his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, voice steady. Tali couldn't understand the words, but his tone was calm. She tried to move, but the pain made her cry out. The man reached into his bag and pulled out a small device. He pressed it to her chest. A soft beat followed. The translator began to work. "Don't move," he said. "You're hurt bad." "But I can help." Tali wanted to protest. Her people had warned her about humans, violent, greedy, dangerous. But this man's eyes didn't look cruel. They looked tired and kind. "My name's Ben," he said, taking out a medical scanner. "I'm a field medic. I've seen worse. You're lucky I found you." Tali couldn't speak. She nodded slightly, her vision blurring. Ben worked fast. He injected a coagulant to stop the bleeding and wrapped the stump in clean bandages. Then he pulled out a metal rod and pressed a button. A small stretcher unfolded from it. "This will hurt," he warned, "but I'm not leaving you here." Carefully, Ben lifted her and placed her on the stretcher. Tali whimpered, but didn't resist. As he pulled the stretcher behind him, she drifted in and out of sleep. The forest faded. They reached a small human outpost hidden between two rocky cliffs. Soldiers looked up as Ben arrived, dragging the wounded alien behind him. "Are you out of your mind?" one soldier asked. "That's one of them. She's hurt," Ben replied, "and she didn't attack." "She's just a kid. She's not human," said another. "She's not our problem." Ben ignored them. "We're medics. We help the injured. Or did you forget that?" He took Tali to the medical tent and began prepping tools. Machines hummed to life, and lights flickered overhead. Tali groaned as he checked her vitals. Ben reached for his data pad and scanned her. DNA markers. It wasn't perfect, but he had studied basic Arkan biology in training. He compared the scan to his files. "If I don't do something soon," he muttered, "she'll lose more than just a leg." He opened a locker and pulled out a metal case. Inside was a sleek silver limb, synthetic. High-tech, light but strong. A prosthetic he had designed for wounded soldiers. He had built it in secret, working during breaks, hoping to help someone. One day, he looked at Tali. "Guess you're the one." Tali opened her eyes slowly. The pain was still there, but less now. She saw the leg in his hands and her eyes widened. "Why?" she whispered, voice weak. Ben paused. "Because nobody else would." The medical tent was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. A warm light glowed above the small metal table where Tali lay. Her eyes were closed, her face pale, and her breathing slow. The pain was less now, but she was still weak. Ben, the human medic, stood beside her. He checked her vitals again. making sure the bleeding had stopped. The wound on her leg was clean, but without help, she would not last long. Ben looked at the silver limb inside the case, his hand made synthetic leg. It was smooth, light, and strong, powered by a small energy cell. He had built it for a human body, but he believed he could adjust it to fit Tali. Her bone structure is close. He whispered to himself, joint spacing is different, but not too far off. He grabbed his data pad and pulled up old biology charts from medical school. He had studied Arcan physiology before, just enough to know the basics. Now, that knowledge might save a life, but outside the tent, voices were rising. She's still in there? One soldier said. I heard he wants to give her a new leg, a synthetic leg. For an Arcan? That's a waste. Ben stepped outside, holding the flap open. She's not a waste, he said sharply. She's a person, a young one. A man in dark gray armor stepped forward, Sergeant Drew, the camp's senior officer. Ben, we're not here to save the enemy, Drew said firmly. You should have left her. Ben didn't back down. She was alone, bleeding out. Her own people left her behind. I didn't. She could be a spy. She's unconscious, Sergeant. She has no weapon, no communicator, and no reason to trick us. She needs help. Drew frowned. And you're going to give her a human-built leg? From your own supplies? Ben nodded. Yes, and I'll take full responsibility. The sergeant sighed and walked away. You better hope she doesn't turn on us. Ben returned inside. He pulled a chair near Tali's bed and sat down. Watching her face, she looked peaceful now, though her body was still healing. After a while, she stirred. Her eyelids fluttered. Open, you're still here, she whispered. Ben smiled slightly. Of course I am. You didn't think I'd leave you, did you? Tali blinked slowly. Most people would have. I'm not most people. There was a moment of silence. The hum of machines filled the space between them. You really want to give me that leg? She asked, her voice weak but curious. Ben nodded. I built it for someone who needed it. Doesn't matter if you're human or Arcan. Tali looked away. My people told me humans were cruel, dangerous. Ben raised an eyebrow. Some of us are, but not all. She turned back to him. Why help me? He thought for a moment. Because I've seen too much pain in this war. I couldn't stop all of it, but maybe I can stop some. Tali's eyes softened. For the first time, she saw him not as an enemy, but as something else. Someone trying to do the right thing. Ben stood and moved toward the table. I need to make adjustments to the leg first. Your body is smaller than a human's, but I think it'll work. She watched as he opened tools and scanned her leg again. The data pad showed bone length, skin, thickness, nerve endings, all the data he needed. The work began. Ben cleaned the wound again and gave her a stronger painkiller. Tali was awake, but numb. He asked her to stay calm as he marked points around her stump for connection. It might feel strange at first, he said, but once your nerves connect to the sensors, it'll feel almost normal. He opened the leg's lower plate, adjusted the wires, and realigned the joint. Sweat ran down his forehead as he worked with steady hands. Tali watched him, surprised at how careful he was. Not rough, not cold, but focused and gentle. Do you always build things like this? She asked. Ben chuckled. Only when I get time. I used to work in a small lab back on Earth. Got bored of desk work. Joined the med corps instead. She tilted her head. You left a safe life to join a war? I wanted to help people. Here, I get to do that, even if it's hard. Tali was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, Your people are not what I expected. Neither are yours, Ben said with a smile. After a few more hours of work, the synthetic leg was finally ready. He aligned it with the remaining part of her leg and began attaching it carefully. Small connectors clicked into place, matching her nerve endings with the metal sensors. Ben watched the screen. The numbers turned green. It's done, he said. Softly Tal I looked down. The leg shone under the lights. It didn't look like hers. But it was there, real, solid, hers now. Ben placed a support frame on it. You need to stay off it for a day. After that, We'll start practice. It might hurt a bit, but you'll walk again." Tears formed in her eyes, but she smiled. "Thank you, Ben." He nodded. "You're welcome, Tali." Outside the tent, the wind blew through the cliffs. The war was still going on. But inside the little medical tent, something rare had happened. Trust between two enemies, maybe. Just maybe, that was the start of something more. The morning light on Corvanine was soft and blue. A thin fog rolled over the rocky hills and forests. Inside the human field tent, a quiet energy filled the air. Machines buzzed, and soft beeps marked the rhythm of healing. Tali opened her eyes. Slowly, but pain was dull now, not sharp like before. She felt the weight of something new at the end of her right leg. She looked down and saw it, the synthetic limb. Connected smoothly where her real leg had been dotted looked strange, silver, with soft blue lines glowing faintly along the side. Not natural, not hers. But it was their dot. She reached down and touched it, cold, hard, but real, across the room. Ben sat in a chair, writing notes on his datapad. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes, but smiled when he saw her awake. "Morning," he said. "How do you feel?" Tali took a breath. "Different, still weak. That's normal. You lost a lot of blood, but you're stable now." She nodded. Then her eyes moved back to the leg. "It feels like it doesn't belong." Ben closed his datapad and walked over. "It'll take time. Your nerves are still learning. But soon, your brain will accept it as part of you." Tali pressed her hand over the metal surface. "Will I be able to walk again?" He gave her a confident smile. "Yes, and not just walk. Run, jump, climb, if we do it right." She looked at him, unsure. "Even though I'm not human?" Ben laughed softly. "Legs don't care who you are. They just carry you forward." By the afternoon, Ben had cleared space in the tent. He helped Tali sit up, then moved her legs over the side of the bed. The synthetic leg made a soft clink as it touched the floor. Tali swallowed hard. "I'm scared." "I know," Ben said gently, "but I'll be here every step." He placed a support bar in front of her and offered his arm. "Just try to stand first. No pressure." Tali gripped the bar. Her arms shook. Her left foot pressed down, steady. Then slowly, she lifted herself. The metal leg responded. The sensors activated, and with the software, she rose. She stood. Ben's smile grew wide. "You did it." Tali's face lit up with surprise. "I'm standing." "You are. First time on two legs since the accident." She laughed, breathless. "It feels strange. You'll get used to it." He handed her a small control pad. "This adjusts strength and balance. It listens to your body." Tali looked at him. "You trust me with this?" Ben nodded. "Of course." Outside the tent, more soldiers had heard rumors. "A human medic is helping an alien walk. I saw her, standing with a metal leg. That's not normal." "Is she a prisoner?" "No. He treats her like a friend." Some shook their heads. Others whispered behind Ben's back. But none dared stop him. Sergeant Drew was watching too, his face unreadable. That evening, Drew walked into the tent. "How long until she's mobile?" he asked. Ben replied calmly. "She stood today. A few more days, and she'll walk." Drew nodded slowly. "You've made your point." "Ben, but command won't like this. You better have good results." Ben stood firm. Saving a life is always a good result. Drew didn't argue. He just left. Over the next few days, Tali practiced walking inside the tent. At first, every step was slow. Her body wobbled. She leaned too hard or too light. Sometimes she fell. But Ben was always there to catch her again. He would say, "You're getting stronger." Sometimes she was frustrated. "This leg isn't mine. I don't know how to move with it." Ben would reply, "It's yours now. Teach it what you want." Little by little, her balance improved. The leg moved smoother. The pain faded. Her steps grew steadier. She even laughed once. After walking from one end of the tent to the other without falling, "I did it," she cheered. Ben clapped. "Told you so." On the fifth day, Ben gave her a choice. "You don't have to stay in here forever. Want to go outside?" Tali hesitated. What if the other humans don't want me there? They'll have to deal with it, Ben said. You're not a threat, and you've earned the right to stand in the sun. So they stepped out. The cold air touched her skin. The wind moved through her short hair. For the first time since the explosion, she saw the sky again. The camp went quiet. Soldiers stopped working and stared. There she was, the Arkan girl, walking with a human-built leg, beside a human medic. Some looked surprised, some confused, a few angry. But no one stopped them. Ben guided her to a bench. She sat down and looked around. I didn't think I'd see the sky again, she whispered. You almost didn't, Ben said. But you fought. You survived, Tali. Looked at him. Because of you. Ben shrugged. Because of us. Later that night, Tali sat alone outside the tent, staring at the stars. She touched her leg gently. Feeling the hum of its energy, she heard soft footsteps. A young human soldier stood nearby. He was nervous. Can I ask something? He said. Tali nodded. Does it hurt? The new leg? The sun had just risen over Corvanine, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and pink. The human camp was stirring to life, but inside the medical tent, the day had already begun for Ben and Tali. Tali sat on the edge of the narrow bed, her synthetic leg resting firmly on the floor. She was stronger now, able to stand for longer periods, yet every movement still carried a sharp reminder of the pain beneath her skin. Ben entered carrying a small tray of medical tools. Good morning, he said, setting the tray down. Tali smiled weakly. Good morning. Ben sat beside her and pulled out a thin needle. Today, I need to clean the nerve endings where the leg connects. It will sting, but it's important. Tali nodded, bracing herself. The thought of more pain made her stomach twist. Ben worked carefully, cleaning the area. Tali clenched her fist and bit her lip, trying not to cry out. The pain was sharp but bearable. When he finished, Ben gave her a gentle smile. You did well. Tali breathed deeply. Why does it hurt so much? Ben paused. Your nerves are trying to heal and adjust to the new leg. They send confusing signals to your brain. It's like learning to speak a new language. Tali looked at him. Will it always hurt? Not always, Ben promised. The pain will get better over time, but healing takes patience. The next few days passed slowly, but with progress. Ben helped Tali practice walking longer distances. She learned to balance and shift her weight. Yet every step was a battle. Her muscles ached. The stump throbbed. Sometimes tears filled her eyes. Ben never left her side. Don't give up, he encouraged. You're stronger than you think. Tali wanted to believe him. She remembered how the mine had blown her leg off, how her own people had left her behind. Now, she had a chance. Because of a human diet, it was strange to feel hope again. One evening, as the camp grew quiet, Tali sat outside the tent, staring at the stars. Ben joined her, carrying 2 cups of warm drink. Here, he said, handing her a cup. This might help with the pain. She took it gratefully. The warmth spread through her fingers. Do you miss your home? Ben asked softly. Tali nodded. Very much, but I don't know if I will ever return. Ben sighed. War changes everything, but it can also bring new chances. Tali looked at him with tired eyes. Why do you care so much? Why me? Ben smiled gently. Because saving one life can change the world. She was silent, thinking about his words. The next day, trouble came. A group of human soldiers approached the medical tent, their faces hard and angry. At their head was Lieutenant Harris, a strict officer known for his distrust of aliens. Medic Ben. Harris called, voice cold. I hear you're wasting valuable resources on that alien girl. Ben stood up. She's a patient. She deserves care. Harris sneered. Care? She's the enemy. We don't have time for mercy. Ben met his gaze. She's not the enemy. She's a person. The soldiers murmured. Harris stepped closer. The command wants her transferred to a holding cell. She's a risk? Ben's jaw tightened. She's stable here. Moving her now could kill her. Harris laughed. Your compassion blinds you. Before Ben could reply, Tali stepped forward, her synthetic legs steady. I'm not a risk. She said clearly. I am alive because of Ben. I will not be moved unless I am healed." The soldiers gasped. Tali's voice was strong, even after all she had suffered. Harris looked shocked, then furious. "You're lucky Ben is stubborn. But this is not over." He turned and walked away, his men following. Ben looked at Tali. "You were brave." She nodded. "Because someone believed in me." That night, Ben checked Tali's leg again. He adjusted the synthetic limb settings to reduce pain signals. "It's not perfect," he said. "But every small change helps." Tali smiled. "You never give up on me." Ben shrugged. "I won't. You're my patient and my friend." She looked at him, surprised. "Friend?" "Yes," Ben said. "We're on the same side now." For the first time, Tali felt safe. Not just because of the medicine or the leg, but because of this human who chose to stand with her. Days later, Tali took her first shaky steps outside the tent without help. The wind brushed her face. The sounds of the camp surrounded her. Soldiers stopped and stared. Some whispered, some nodded slowly. She was no longer just an alien or a prisoner. She was a survivor. And the human who saved her was proof that kindness could shine even in war. The air on Corvon had changed. The sky was darker now, filled with thick gray clouds. The wind had a sharp chill. It no longer felt like a quiet moon. It felt like something was coming. Inside the camp, Tali moved faster than ever. Her synthetic leg no longer felt strange. It moved with her, followed her will. She could walk, jog, and even run short distances now. Ben watched her with pride. "You've come a long way," he said. Tali smiled. "Only because you believed in me." Ben nodded. "And because you didn't give up." Every day, Tali trained. She learned how to move with the leg in every way, walking up slopes, running over rocky paths, kneeling, and even climbing short walls. She wanted to be useful, not just healed. She wanted to help. Some soldiers still looked at her with doubt, but many had started to accept her presence. Some even gave her a small nod. When she passed, not friendship, maybe, but respect. One morning, just as the sun rose, a loud alarm shook the camp. Red lights flashed, and soldiers ran to their posts. Ben grabbed his gear and ran outside. "What's happening?" he shouted. A soldier pointed to the sky. "New contacts. They're not human or Arcan. Unknown origin." Ben narrowed his eyes. He saw strange black shapes falling from the clouds, machines with long legs and glowing red eyes. Drones, not from Earth, not from the Arcan, something else. The camp commander, Sergeant Drew, shouted, "All fighters to defense lines, protect the generator." Tali came running up beside Ben. "What are they?" "Don't know," Ben said. "But they're not friendly." The first drone hit the ground with a loud thud, then another, and another. Each one stood taller than a man, shaped like a metal spider with weapons attached to their sides. Without a word, they began to fire. Blue plasma shot from their arms, cutting through metal and walls. Ben pulled Tali down behind a crate. "Stay low." The human soldiers fired back, but the drones were fast. They moved like hunters, without fear. Tali's eyes were wide. "I've never seen machines like these." "Me neither," Ben said, aiming his sidearm. "But we need to stop them, or no one will survive." The battle grew worse. More drones landed. A few tents caught fire. The power generator was damaged, and the main communication line was cut. Ben saw a soldier fall. Wounded, he ran to help him, pulling him to safety. Tali followed, moving quickly with her new leg. She helped carry supplies, bring water, and pull the injured out of the line of fire. Even in the chaos, her synthetic leg moved perfectly. It didn't slow her down. It made her stronger. Ben noticed. "You're doing great," she nodded. "I want to help more." They pulled back into the medical tent, where wounded soldiers were being treated. Explosions shook the ground outside. Suddenly, the lights went out. The power was gone. Ben cursed under his breath. "Without the generator, the med systems won't run. We'll lose more people." Tali looked at the broken drones lying outside. "What if we use the energy cores from the machines?" Ben blinked. "The drones?" She nodded. They're powered by something, right? Maybe we can connect it to the backup system. Ben thought fast. That might work. Together, they ran back outside. Tali found a fallen drone and pried open the back panel. Inside, a glowing red core pulsed with energy. Ben grabbed wires and tools from his belt. This thing's alien tech. I have no idea if it'll overload. Tali touched his arm. But you always say, try anyway. Ben laughed. You're right. They carried the core back to the med tent. Ben connected the wires carefully. Sparks flew. Tali adjusted the pressure. A few seconds later, the backup lights flickered on. Machines started humming again. The med tent came alive. Cheers rose from the inside. You saved them, Ben said. No, Tali replied. We did. But the battle outside was still going. The machines were pushing closer. The outer fence was broken, and drones were now entering the camp from all sides. Ben grabbed a rifle and handed Tali a small energy blaster. Can you fight? He asked. She held the blaster tightly. Yes, they joined the defense line, shoulder to shoulder with humans. Tali fired at the drones, using cover, aiming carefully. Her leg gave her balance on rough ground. She didn't fall once. The soldiers around her started shouting with her. Nice shot. She took one down. She's fighting better than some of us. Hours passed. At last, the final drone was hit by a missile and fell, smoking and broken. The battlefield was quiet again. Bodies were being collected. Fires were being put out, but the camp still stood, barely. And in the middle of it all stood Ben and Tali, breathing hard, weapons in hand. Sergeant Drew walked over, limping slightly. He looked at Tali, then at Ben. You used a machine's core to power the med tent. Yes, sir. Ben replied. And she helped. She saved lives. Drew nodded slowly. Looks like I was wrong. He turned to Tali. You're not a guest anymore. You're one of us. Tali's eyes filled with quiet pride. She didn't say anything, but her smile said it all. That night, as stars returned to the sky, Ben and Tali sat outside the tent. You didn't just walk again today, Ben said. You stood tall. Tali looked up. Do you think this war will ever end? Ben was quiet for a while. I don't know, he said honestly. But maybe if more humans and Arkan fight together, like we did today, maybe it will. Tali nodded. Her leg hummed softly beside her. She had lost something once, but she had gained something too, a second chance, and a strange, powerful friendship that might just change everything. The skies over Corvanine were quiet again, but it was not peace, only silence before another storm. In the middle of the damaged human camp, Tali helped carry supplies. Her synthetic leg moved easily now, as if it had always been part of her. Her steps were quick, balanced, and strong. Soldiers greeted her with nods. Some smiled. A few even asked for help. She was no longer an outsider. Ben watched her from a distance. Proud but cautious, he knew something wasn't right. The last drone attack had been too organized. Those machines were not built by humans, and not by Arkan either. He walked into the command tent, where Sergeant Drew and two other officers stood around a glowing map. They weren't built by us. Drew said, an Arkan tech doesn't match either. Ben spoke up. I think we're both fighting the wrong enemy. Drew looked at him. You think these drones are from a third group? Ben nodded. Something older or something newer. Either way, they're not here to negotiate. They want to wipe everyone out. Later that evening, Ben shared his thoughts with Tali while checking her leg settings. I've seen tech like this before, he said. Back on Earth, there were old warnings about machines built by explorers who vanished. AI systems that stopped listening. Systems that grew smarter and started making their own plans. You think those machines came here? Tali asked. Maybe not the same ones, but something like them. They don't care who we are, human or Arkan. It makes no difference. Tali looked worried. Then we're all in danger. Ben nodded. Which means we have to work together. She looked out toward the horizon. That won't be easy. The next day, the Arkan made contact. A small group of Arkan scouts, including an elder named Vone, entered the human camp under a flag of peace. Some soldiers reached for weapons, but Ben stepped forward. "They're not here to fight," he said. Vaughn, older and wise, had deep marks on his skin and walked with a cane. He looked at Tali with surprise. "You survived," he said. Tali bowed her head. "Thanks to the human." Vaughn turned to Ben. "You helped her when even we did not. That means something." Ben nodded. "Now we need your help too. There's something worse out there." Vaughn listened carefully as Ben showed him the broken drones and explained what they had done. Vaughn's expression turned serious. "I have heard of machines like these," he said, "from long ago. Our ancestors called them the Nullborn. They come from deep space and destroy everything." Ben looked at him sharply. "Then we don't have much time." That night, a joint meeting was held between the humans and Arkan. Tali stood beside Ben. Soldiers and scouts gathered in a circle as a hologram showed the shape of a new drone, bigger, stronger, and possibly leading the rest, we believe. "A main command unit is hiding in the eastern valley," Ben explained. "If we destroy it, the other machines might shut down." Sergeant Drew folded his arms. "We can't get close. It's too dangerous." Vaughn stepped forward. "Our scouts know the land. We can lead the way. But we don't trust each other," a human officer muttered. Tali raised her voice. "Then let us lead together. I'm Arkan. Ben is human. We stood side by side in battle. If we can, why can't all of you?" Silence fell. No one spoke for a moment. Then Drew said, "If they can do it, maybe we can too." The next day, the team prepared for the mission. A small group of human soldiers and Arkan scouts moved through the foggy forest. Guided by Tali and Vaughn, Ben carried a device, an EMP pulse bomb, designed to overload machines. They walked quietly, weapons ready. The trees were silent, even. The wind had stopped. Tali's heart beat faster. Every step reminded her of the mine that had taken her leg. But she pressed forward. She was not afraid now. At the top of a hill, they saw it, a black tower standing in a pit of metal and wires. Hundreds of drones surrounded it, charging or resting. "That must be the control center," Ben whispered. Vaughn narrowed his eyes. "Too many for a direct attack." Ben turned to Tali. "What if we sneak in from the side? Use the old mining tunnels?" Tali smiled. "I remember those paths. They moved quickly and quietly. In the dark, narrow tunnels, they avoided motion sensors and slid past guards." Tali's leg made soft sounds, but nothing loud enough to alert the machines. At last, they reached the base of the tower. Ben placed the EMP bomb beside the main power cable. "Once I activate it, we'll have 5 minutes to run," he said. Tali nodded. "I'll stay with you." "No," Ben said. "You need to lead the others back." "I'm not leaving you behind." He looked at her, then finally said, "Okay, together." The bomb began to blink, red light, for minutes, then 3. They ran. Behind them, machines began to move, alarms buzzing. At 2 minutes, the drones started to chase them. Ben turned and fired his blaster. Tali shot the drones with perfect aim, her legs moving fast and smooth. One drone jumped toward Ben, but Tali tackled it with full force. Her synthetic leg crushed its chest. They kept running. 1 minute, they reached the tunnel exit. Behind them, the tower began to shake. 30 seconds. Ben shouted, "Jump!" They leapt behind a large rock. Boom! The blast shook the ground. A wave of blue energy exploded from the tower. Drones froze, then fell, lifeless. Silence followed. Then cheers rose from the nearby soldiers. The control center was gone. That evening, back at the camp, humans and Arkan sat beside the same fire. They ate together, rested together. Ben sat with Tali, wrapping a bandage around her arm where she had taken a scratch. "You okay?" he asked. She smiled. "I'm better than okay." Vaughn came forward and said, "You both did what many couldn't. You gave us something rare." Ben looked up. "Hope." "Yes," Vaughn said. "Hope." 3 days had passed since the machines were destroyed. The sky over Corvanine was now calm. The smoke was gone. The air was cooler. Soldiers no longer held their weapons tightly. Scouts walked with ease. Laughter had returned to the camps, something no one had heard in a long time. Ben sat outside the medical tent, watching the sunrise. He had cleaned his tools, checked the bandages, and refilled the medicine packs. But for the first time in months, no one needed emergency treatment. Tali walked up the hill toward him, her synthetic leg moving perfectly. She carried 2 cups of hot broth and handed one to him. "You look tired," she said with a soft smile. "I think I forgot how to rest," Ben replied, sipping the warm liquid. "But this is nice." They sat in silence for a while. The camp below them was busy, but not with war. Humans and Arkan were working together, building new shelters, clearing damaged machines, and planting seeds in fresh soil. "There's going to be a meeting today," Tali said. "A big one. The Arkan leaders are coming. Your officers too." Ben raised his eyebrows. "A peace meeting?" She nodded. "Maybe even more than that." Later that morning, the command tent was filled. Arkan elders, human commanders, and soldiers from both sides stood together for the first time. A large map lay in the center. Round it were plans, not for war, but for rebuilding. Sergeant Drew looked around. "Let's be honest. We didn't trust each other at first, and we made mistakes. But what happened out there when we fought the machines showed what we could do together." Elder Vone nodded. "The machines saw us as weak because we were divided. But when we joined hands, we became stronger." Another officer said, "We can't go back to old ways. We need something new. A united base, shared supplies, joint patrols." Ben listened quietly. Then he stood. "I was just a medic," he said. "But I saw something most of you didn't. I saw an Arkan girl left to die, and I made a choice. I helped her, not because of orders, but because it was right." He glanced at Tali, who stood at the back of the room, her eyes shining. "Now, she's a soldier, a scout, a hero," Ben said. "We didn't need a treaty to make that happen. We just needed to care." There was a moment of silence. Then Vone said, "Then let us build this peace not from paper, but from people." In the days that followed, a new plan was made. The first united outpost was built at the edge of the forest where the human and Arkan territories met. It wasn't a human base. It wasn't an Arkan camp. It was both. Tents became cabins. Dirt paths became roads. A water tower rose. Solar panels were set. Machines were rebuilt, not for war, but for farming and transport. Tali became one of the first members of the Joint Patrol Unit, wearing a mix of human and Arkan gear. Her synthetic leg was now painted with both flags, one on each side. Ben stayed too. He built a new medical station. Patients came with strange illnesses, broken arms, scratched hands, and smiles. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One day, while repairing an irrigation pipe, Tali found Ben sitting near a new flower bed. "You should rest," she told him. "I will," Ben said, grinning. "Right after I finish this last section." She sat beside him, looking over the green fields they had planted. Children played nearby, human and Arkan both. "Do you ever think about the day we met?" Tali asked. Ben looked at her. "I think about it a lot. You were angry, in pain, scared, and you were calm, gentle, kind." He chuckled. "I was just doing my job." "No," she said. "You did more than that. You gave me a second chance." Ben looked at her leg, then at the sky. "You used that chance well." Tali smiled. "We both did." Weeks later, a message arrived from Earth. A large ship would be coming soon, not for war, but for exploration, study, and peacekeeping. A council was being formed, and Earth wanted both humans and Arkan to send delegates. The name of the new alliance would be the Corva Accord. Tali and Ben were invited to speak at the opening. On the day of the ceremony, hundreds gathered in the outpost square. Flags waved in the wind. Children held hands. A new statue stood near the fountain, not of a soldier or a leader, but of a medic kneeling beside a wounded alien girl. Tali stood on the platform, her voice calm and strong. "There was a time when we feared each other," she said, "a time when we walked separate paths. But something terrible came, something that didn't care about our names or faces. And in that darkness, we reached out to each other. She looked at Ben. Because one human chose to help one Arkan. Everything changed. Ben stepped forward. We're not perfect, he said. We'll make mistakes. But if we keep choosing kindness, we'll keep moving forward. The crowd clapped. Some cried. Many simply smiled out as the sun set on Corv-on-Ein. Tali and Ben sat once more on the hilltop, watching the sky turn golden. Do you ever miss the old days? Ben asked. Tali shook her head. No, I like this future better. Me too. This sat in peace. No weapons, no alarms. Only hope, and the sound of a world beginning again.